On the 22nd of January at the World Economic Forum in Davos, there was a session held on creating a single market for Africa. And this is very interesting because the theme for the World Economic Forum this year is Globalization 4.0, and it comes at a time when there's a lot of pushback against globalization. For example, the United Kingdom looking to leave the European Union via Brexit, and then we also have the United States pushing against many multilateral agreements and organizations globally. However, of course, we know Africa beats its own drum, and in March last year, a continental free trade area agreement was put together and signed, and this agreement intends to put 49 different African economies together to improve the trade between African countries and ultimately to look at a single currency. Now that's quite a tall ask, and it's not going to happen overnight. And if we look back at the European Union, which still has some difficulties, it has its origins in the 1950s. So these things take time and obviously aren't simple to create, but it's an important start to the process, and it means that there's a lot of political will within the continent to improve intra-Africa trade, which currently is only about 12% of the trade that African countries do. So this will have some enormous benefits. Interestingly, what came out of the talk is that non-tariff barriers are quite important. So many Pan-African businesses who were represented on the panel said that it's quite difficult to move their African experts and get working visas in other African countries. And in fact, it almost looks easier for people from outside the continent to get working visas. So this is one of the non-tariff barriers that could be easily removed. And we have seen moves towards an African passport. So it does seem that these moves will hopefully improve things. Non-tariff barriers can have an enormous impact. 3 years ago at the World Economic Forum on Africa in Kigali, the finance minister, they said just removing non-tariff barriers could improve the time that it would take to import a container from Mombasa on the Kenyan coast to Kigali from 21 days to 5 days. The African Development Bank recently released their latest African Economic Outlook, and they estimate that if the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is fully implemented, that GDP for Africa could be improved by 4.5%. And we add that to the already strong growth that's expected over the next 5 years for the continent, we can see that the continent would grow faster than many Indian or Asian economies that are currently touted as the areas for strong growth over the next period. So this is incredibly important, and hopefully will go from strength to strength, although we don't expect it to happen overnight.